Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, thank you so much for joining me once again. My name is Stirling Cooper, and I have with us today Mr. King Dre. Dre, how you doing, mate?
How you doing, man? It's a pleasure to have me. A pleasure to be on here, man.
The king himself. The king himself. Mate, Dre, we were just talking a bit before we went live, and I said that I like to collaborate with as many different guys as I possibly can in the men's like self-improvement dating kind of space, because everybody has a little bit of a different experience, different background, different take on things. And so you kind of get to see where everyone agrees and where everyone kind of disagrees. I kind of like that. So for my guys who might not be familiar with you, maybe you can give them a bit of a background on where you came from, how you got into this, what you like to teach.
Okay. All right. Well, yeah. That's we could take all night with that. But to be short, I'm King Dre, and I basically teach men how to deal with women, not necessarily pick up. If a guy wants to know like pick up and how to approach and things like that, I can help him out with that. But my thing is maintaining your relationships or your situationships or whatever. Just maintaining women's interests, making them fall in love and shit like that. I like to do things with integrity now, but I come from a background of where I didn't always play fair. So, as a young kid, I had to learn how to get the best of women, right? And get the best out of women. So that's always been my thing. And, I'm what people would consider a natural. Like I never had problems getting women. Never had problems really keeping them either. And this is since I lost my virginity. So I'm one of those guys. And I decided that I want to teach men how to, be successful with women, because I believe that, success with the opposite sex has a lot to do with your mental health, being as though we're here to reproduce. So that's my goal.
I like how you said I teach men how to handle women. How to deal with them, man. It's one of the biggest source of frustration for a lot of guys, and it's good that you like, and the frustration isn't even necessarily with like the getting them. It's the stuff you're talking about. It's the retaining them, and having like a relationship dynamic that works. Right. That is actually where the most of the work it kind of comes from, and the frustrations kind of come from. Dudes don't get guys will get frustrated when they're not getting laid, but they're not really getting frustrated with the girl who they're having a one night stand with, because she's in his life,
Right. These a lot of guys don't really, especially in today's time. Today is rough. Today's times are a lot rougher than they were. So it's a lot more. You need to have certain things in you to be able to maintain these chicks' interests nowadays, especially over a long period of time. And that's where I come in at. I believe that, like I said, if men don't know how to do this, they get frustrated and they get weak, and it affects their mental health. And overall, when the men's mental health is fucked up in the country or wherever you at, it has kind of, society is going to be fucked up. If the men are fucked up, society is going to be fucked up. Absolutely. And I believe that if you don't have success with the opposite sex, it'll tax you mentally. So
I think Patrice, I don't know if you're ever a fan of Patrice O'Neill.
Everybody keeps saying you should check him out. You should check him out. But never.
He used to have this phrase. It was something like, when if the man's happy in a relationship, then the woman's happy. But if the man is focusing on keeping the woman happy and he's unhappy, then it's a shit show and it'll fall apart.
Right.
I think that's kind of exactly what you just said. And it expands to like a societal level.
Yeah, you see, you got everybody, has something to say about what society is right now. Today, society's weak, and the men are, I don't know if you're in America, right? Miami, right?
I'm in Miami, yeah.
I'm down the street from you. I used to live in Miami.
Oh, nice.
I'm actually in Tampa, but
you know what it's like. You really know what it's like out here in Florida.
Yeah. I made my bones in Miami when I was younger. I got a lot of Miami women, but. Today a lot of guys say, "Oh, America's messed up," and they're attacking masculinity. It's the man is weak, and so everything around us is basically crumbling right before our eyes. And I believe one of the reasons that men are weak is because they can't get a grip on women.
That's kind of why, the way I kind of phrase it on my channel is like I try to teach guys to like embrace their masculinity through the bedroom, because it's like the one place in the Western world now, where a dude can still be a dude. He can still be a man, the man, right? In that context, where a woman, if the guy steps up and is the man, like, and accepts his normal, natural, dominant kind of role, she falls into a natural, submissive, feminine role, and everything works perfectly.
Right.
But we're not really allowed to be that way out in public so much anymore. I mean, a lot of guys, some guys are, a lot of guys aren't, but that's kind of the problem that we kind of face in the West these days.
Yeah, it's starting to become frowned upon. Like I did a video about that, to walk with your proud, and as a man with your chin up and your shoulders back. You're almost a little too macho for certain people. So it's starting to be, I believe if things keep going this way, if we don't save the world, then it'll probably be illegal to be a man in 20 years.
Dude, I think 20 years.
I know that sounds crazy, but
no, hang on. I'm kind of laughing, but I'm laughing because it's true. I think 20 years is generous. I give it like 5. Dude, we're running out of time quick.
Yeah,
and it's it's kind of funny. I went on a date with this girl recently who was like a young 21-year-old girl who's like a lawyer, or like wants to get into law school.
Right.
And we had sex or whatever, and the second time I saw her, she sort of brought up the fact that she brought up some of these like feminist teachings that she was getting from her university professors and stuff.
Right.
And like the first words out of my mouth was like, she was like, "Oh, we live in a patriarchy, we live in a male-dominated society." I'm like, you've got to be. Do you ignore reality? You've got to be kidding me. Like, name me like every movie coming out of Hollywood now. Show me one movie where they glorify being like a stay-at-home mother of a stable family. Show me one. You can't.
Right.
They don't exist anymore.
I'm interested because I have a low tolerance for like feminism. Like I have, like, if I hear but I teach things like that too. I teach, if you hear certain buzzwords in the day, right then and there. Like, I mean, they fun to, for a guy like me, I can handle it. I know how to navigate things like that, but a lot of guys really don't.
All right, well, this is a good thing for us to talk about then, because you don't tolerate it at all, is what you're saying. You kind of like, you hear it and it's like, all right, we're done, right?
Yeah, we're done. It depends on how cute she is. Like if she's like you say, you have a lot of those girls who are young and they're in college, right?
Yeah,
they young, they're in college, and it's not really, they haven't like drinking the Kool-Aid like fully. They ain't put the needle in their arm fully, and they just basically bored without structure and without a masculine figure. So they start to cling to certain teachers and shit. I can work with that, but to stomp down self-proclaimed feminists, I can't do that. Not anymore. I don't have the patience to deal with it anymore, because it's women like that almost see men as kind of the enemy a little bit. Like if you look at a lot of the guys from the pill spaces, and I love this whole community, but a certain sector of this community almost see women as almost enemies.
Yeah, I'd agree with that, man. I don't like that. I don't like that.
Yeah, right. So I believe that's how they look at us. And then you always like, and just from experience and other people's experience, it's always a pushback. There's always little combativeness and a challenge. And I don't really have time for that. Like, I believe it's 5 billion bitches, right? I don't know if you want me to curse on your channel. But
you can curse on my channel all you like.
Okay. I don't believe it. Yeah, you talk about erections and
yeah, man. Like,
and all types of shit.
You're not going to say anything that's going to make my audience blush.
Right. But I believe it's too many bitches to let one give me a headache. And I know, a lot of feminists, like self-proclaimed feminists, they just come with a lot of bullshit. Now, most women in the West have a feminist ideology, though. Most of them, because they did their work, like from throughout years and years, they've done their work so their ideals can permeate society. So most women have the ideals, but they won't claim to be a feminist or even know what it is, but they think like them. So
yeah, I'd agree with that. And here's kind of how I will where I draw the line and where I choose to sort of like play with a girl if she's coming out with me with some of that stuff.
Right.
First of all, if she's young, so like under 24. I these days I don't even fuck with a girl who's older than like 23 even.
Oh shit! Not even like a smash or nothing.
I mean, it's just, like I'm not because my goals are different these days. And this is something that's changed relatively recently. Yeah, I'm not trying to get laid, man. I'm trying. I don't care. I've got like plenty of numbers under my belt. I've experienced all that. Okay, cool. These days, I'm trying to find like ride or die bitches, and I'm trying to find a stable of them. I'm trying to build a harem. Here's my legit goal. I'm not fucking around. My legit goal is like minimum like 6 ride or die women who all are bisexual and we all fuck each other and we have like orgies and I'm the only dude that they're fucking.
Right.
That's the goal. That is the goal. Like, you know, and eventually I'll put babies in all of them or something, and we'll live in like Eastern Europe or something where the laws are in my favor and they can't like dick me around, and bang, that's like the end goal, right? So I'm like, that's literally what I'm working towards building. So that's the end goal in mind, right? Right. So with these girls, like, one, they're going to be young. And so, because they're young, they haven't had all these years of like more of the stuff to be indoctrinated and ingrained into them. They're not as bitter. And they're more moldable, man. They're way more moldable than like a girl who's older than 25. She's so much more resistant to being moldable and more combative, right?
Yeah, battle hardened, man. It's
battle hardened, yeah. Dick hardened, baby. I don't know. But the other key thing is her behavior. Like, she can say all the shit she wants. Is she following my lead? That's the important, like, what is she actually doing and responding to? So with this this girl I was giving an example of, this girl who was like a lawyer or whatever, or going to law school, right? On the first date, actually, on the first time I saw her, there was no, I deliberately steer clear of any topics that might even bring that up. Right. So that wasn't even talked about during the first time, and then we smashed. Right. And she's following my lead. She's being very submissive, very feminine, which is why I saw her a second time. Because I'm like, all right, she looks like a good blueprint. Second time she mentions like law school, and I'm like, oh, you're gonna go get brainwashed. I think I said, I'm gonna save you from yourself. You're gonna go to law school, you're gonna get ruined. I think I used those exact words. You're gonna get ruined. And that's when that stuff came out. But lo and behold, she's sitting there like, she's sitting there trying to like provoke some kind of and I won't really emotionally react to them either. That's the thing that I think a lot of guys do, is they'll get like guys in our space, or guys who listen to like kind of our material, I guess, will kind of be combative with the girl. Like, they want to win the argument. I don't even try. I'm just like, when they bring up all this feminist bullshit, I'm like, yeah, that's bullshit. That's a lie. And I end it there. She wants, because she's a lawyer. She wants to keep this
go back and forth. This sparring.
I'm just like, boom. Here's some sort of solid frame of reference, or like, here's one reason why this is total bullshit, or whatever. And then I'm physically leading her, like grabbing her hand, moving her, like, and I reestablish my, like, I'm the one in charge. You're the feminine, submissive one, through physicality. Right. You know, so it's like she can try to fucking do this, but I'm not going to fall into that. Right. You know, I'm not even going to engage with it. I'm like, but like, whatever. Here's like different fucking conversational thread, and like I move her. You know, she can say things all she likes as long as she's acting feminine. That's good. Cool on that. Okay. Like, it'll like, obviously with this one, I've got a bit of fucking brainwashing to undo, and maybe she won't be a good blueprint in like a week's. I don't know. Maybe she'll be resistant to it. We'll see. Yeah.
Nah,
but that's kind of where I come at.
I believe they're all breakable. Even the hardcore, you know, fucking Gloria Steinem types. That you know, I believe they're all breakable. It's just, you know, is it worth it in the end? You know, is it worth the headache when you can just, you know, go get you something that's young and cooperative, don't have a lot of baggage, that don't have guards up, that's not jaded. Yeah. You understand? So I believe they are moldable.
They are moldable. That's why I don't fuck with girls my own age. I don't fuck with girls past like, purely because of what I'm looking for and what I'm trying to create. I want younger girls because then I can build them over a few years and mold them into these. Because there's so many logistical things too. Like I haven't talked about this with many people, but I'm glad I'm talking with you about it, Dre. So it's like, even something as subtle as her friendship, like her network of friends in that city. Like if she's a 24-year-old woman, she's already got her. Yeah, she's been dicked down and stuff, whatever. Like that's that aside. She's got a network of like guy friends and girlfriends and places she visits and etc. And like work colleagues and maybe some sports colleagues.
She has a system already.
She has all this stuff. It's this network, right? So how are you supposed to bring her into your world as the man? Because that's what you want. That's the ideal. You want her to come into your world if she already has her own world, right?
Right.
So that's why you got to go after the younger ones, because the younger ones, like maybe if they're new to that city or they've just left home or whatever, they don't have that yet. And so you can take her and bring her into your world. And then it's kind of, me and my buddy, we had this sort of theory, like dudes have like ancient tribes, right? They have the men have like the rite of passage, right? Which is like, okay, you go off and you kill a lion or something, or I don't know, you spend a week in the wilderness, and if you survive, you can come back and you're a man now. You go from being a boy to being a man, right?
Right.
And we kind of had this theory that with women, their equivalency, like the equivalent of the female rite of passage is kind of like going from your father's tribe to your husband's tribe. Being like changing tribes. That is the female version of that, or at least one of them. And then the next one it'd be like going from being a girl to a woman, as in having a kid. That would be the next kind of like level. But the first level is like changing tribes. And so if she's still in the same tribe she's always been in, she hasn't really gone through anything emotionally significant. And I think that helps a girl like bond with you too. Is if you take her from one place and bring her to another one. You know?
Yeah, I teach stuff like that.
There you go.
Good old isolation.
Right.
But I have to stuff like that I put behind a paywall, because a lot of guys, I don't want, a lot of guys are irresponsible and devious, and I don't want, this type of shit that we teach is very powerful, and I don't want it to go, you get stuff like this in the wrong hands, and it just creates more of a problem, But I do. You're right about that. That's why, and a lot of guys, I try to teach guys to play where we at, like. And like you say, it's hard when a woman has a system in place already. She has a network of friends. She has her own little, support tribe or whatever. The mind, once you get the mind, the body follows, right? I've seen women, man, in my life. I've seen women, and Sterling, I do this as far as like, I don't want to say manipulate women, but that I was that guy, right? Like I've literally seen women defile their parents behind my word. Like, okay, yeah, go steal this PS2 from your stepdad.
Right.
And it's like stuff like that. I used to do stuff like that when I was younger. So I always understood the mind is very powerful. And when you get a woman's mind, nothing else will matter in her world. Now, is it easy? It was a lot easier to do back then. That's not as easy now, where women have, not only do they have their, systems in place in their tribes, they also have social media to fall back on, and groups and things like that. And, these guys are struggling. So I try to help them penetrate the mind so they can, do away with all of that bullshit, and everything can be about you. But the isolation thing, I hate to use that term because it sounds bad, but
look,
it is what it is.
I don't look at the word. I've kind of reframed that in my head. Like I don't look at the word manipulation as a dirty word anymore.
Right.
Because you can frame it like this. Like, okay, if a woman, let's say a wife is like horny, and she waits for her husband to come home, and she dresses in a sexy lingerie,
right,
so that he will fuck her when he walks in the door.
That's manipulation.
That's technically manipulation. Like
it's exactly what it is.
Everyone's happy. But it's manipulate. You can still call it manipulation. Like you put a dress on a pig, it's still a pig. Like,
right.
It's. I don't look at it as a dirty word. And like women, that's the thing. Like men's primary tool for getting our way. Men's primary tool for getting what we want in the world throughout history has been violence.
Right.
If you think about it, that's how force and violence is the way that men got what they wanted. They asserted dominance.
That's our gift.
It's our gift, right?
Yeah.
But now in modern society, we can't exercise that because we have laws and we have police and we have structures, right? So we've gotten rid of men's tool. So the only tool that exists now is the female tool, which is manipulation. That's what women have always had. Women have always, the only tool they've had is the ability to manipulate others to survive. Basically.
Yeah, that's what I teach guys, in order to understand women, you have to understand their gift. Like our gift is our ability to, exert violence.
Yeah.
Like I always tell guys, like, and I'm speaking in reference to, because a lot of guys don't understand the things that females do and things that women do, and it confuses them and it shocks them. But if you look at it like this, okay, men have a gift. If you take away all of the laws, you take away all of the civilization, and we out, on a fucking out in the wilderness, right? Men have testosterone, which gives them the ability to carry out violence to exert our will. Women have to be able to survive, right? So they have the manipulation, the underhandedness, the being cunning and shit like that. And so this is the shit that you see in their behavior today. They just using their gift, but you can't use your violence to get what you want. You can't even use your resources to get what you want, because they can compete economically nowadays. So you can't even use that. You have to get them. You have to get them in the mind. You have to play their game with them, as far as getting in their head and being more underhanded with the things that you do, because you can't. Assertiveness and even a little aggression is only going to get you so far today.
Oh, absolutely, and it's gonna get you in jail most of the time.
Most of the time. There's sometimes where you can assert yourself, or you can even get a little aggressive if a woman is, not physically, of course, but they still respond to that. But at the end of the day, you got it. You can't do that. So I'm glad that you said that. As far as the male violence thing,
I would say in terms of that, like the way that some women will respond to that. It's kind of you can kind of tell the environment that a woman grew up in by how she responds to a man kind of like raising his voice, right? Because like it's purely really the threat of violence. If a guy like raises his voice or gets a bit angry and is like, "Hey, cut that shit out," like tries to be assertive in that way, because really there's always big daddy government behind you.
Right,
ready to like slap you in irons and take you away to jail if you actually do anything violent, right? So, and a smart woman knows that.
Right.
A woman who has like called a guy's bluff before knows that, right? And so that gives you an idea of like the kind of environment she grew up in, her earlier boyfriends, maybe what her father was like. If she's willing to push that button because she knows that you can't really do anything.
Right.
That's kind of what I mean by like you can tell by her response to that.
I was speaking to a guy yesterday about this too. A lot of the times when women push your buttons like that, they know that they can call the police or that big daddy government. But a lot of the times, especially today, women challenge weak men. Like women will challenge you. Women will challenge weak men. If you try to exert yourself or assert yourself to a woman and she senses you to be weak, and she has the balls nowadays to challenge and put on posture, and they do this and they'll bitch you up, right? And it's basically her subconscious way of calling your bluff. Like guys don't understand this, even in the confines of a relationship. Now, let's say if your girl is, it's women are emotional. They get frustrated. They yell and scream. That's not what I'm talking about. But when you see a woman have an authoritative tone over a guy, and it's like, oh, well, what gives you the authority to say this? Or who you think you're talking to? Or, they take this. You can even see their shoulders get broad and shit. Yep. That's a testament to how that woman subconsciously sees you as weak, and your barking isn't doing it for her.
Nope.
So it's like she's basically putting you in your place. I see this off the record. I show you exactly what I'm talking about off the record. Remind me, because I was talking to shout out to MLD. I was talking to him about it yesterday.
Oh, nice.
We was watching something on YouTube, and we saw an event like this take place. Yeah. And I was explaining to him, she's basically testing his gangster. She's basically showing him that you're not the man that I don't think you're the man that you portraying to be. Yeah. So women will do that. And I like to tell guys, if you ever see that in your woman, it's time to go.
Yeah. I mean, it's a sign of disrespect.
Right.
Like it's a big sign of disrespect.
Right.
Sorry, you're going to kind of see half of me right now because the sun's
blazing I see.
in.
Yeah.
That's all right. We'll give it like another like 30 minutes. It'll be fine.
Okay.
But one thing I want to quickly ask you about is like, in this day and age, it's like harder for dudes than it kind of has ever been before. And you mentioned before, like women have like things like social media and their friendship groups to sort of like simps like everywhere coming out of the woodwork to like as validation engines for them, like non-stop validation for them and non-stop like attention like for them, right?
Right.
So in this day and age, do you think it's like harder for dudes to find a girl who's one, do you think it's harder to find a girl who is able to really just like live off the attention of one man? And my other question will be, do you think that like, what do you think is a woman's ability to like to pair bond and be committed to a dude based upon her like sexual history, like how much she's had?
Very good question. Okay, so now for the first question, I don't think it's hard. What I think is hard is to develop the skills to be able to do that. Because regardless of what they have, at the end of the day, they still who they are to their core. They're still receptive to masculinity. They're still receptive to good game. They still receptive to a man that has resources and clout and all of this shit. They're still receptive to it. It's not hard. It's just a lot of men don't know how to become that these days, thanks to technology. Whereas, us growing up in our fucking generation, we had to go outside and fucking play, and our testosterone was running through us, and we was running through the neighborhood, and getting on our bikes, driving way across fucking town, just being boys, fighting to other people in the other neighborhood, just breaking windows and shit like this. This gives you that edge and that energy. Whereas today, a lot of guys don't go outside, so they deal with depression, anxiety issues and shit, and this social anxiety. They don't know what to say to women. They don't know how to deal with them. They don't have the experience. So that's the hard part. But as far as getting a woman on your page, into getting her to where you need her to be, even with everything, is a piece of cake, right? Even getting women is easier, right? Getting laid and shit like that is much easier now because they giving the pussy away now. It's just the hard thing is to get yourself up to a level. It's hard to at least that's my perception for a lot of these guys. It's just hard to get yourself up to a level when you grew up as a pussy in the house, right? The we may evolve into women being more economically free and more sexually liberated. We may evolve in that way, but the rules still apply. If you don't have a certain type of energy, if you don't have a certain type of character, if you're not doing the things to build character, which is getting your ass out in the world and conquering things and accomplishing goals and making money and talking to bitches, and if you're not doing stuff like that and you sitting away in the house rotting, then that's the issue. You understand? But because I'm pretty sure you're not running into much issues. I mean, your goal is your goal, which is kind of my goal too in the end, but our goals are very ambitious. We want to be somewhere in Bali in a castle with like 50 naked bitches and shit. That's a little bit more ambitious, but for a guy to secure a guy to secure him a girlfriend, that's easy. It's just hard to take the work. It's hard to do the work to get yourself in a position to where a woman finds you attractive. And that's a lot harder when you're a grown man who grew up as a pussy. Your dad wasn't there. You were in the house. You're a video game kid and shit. That's the hard thing. Now, as far as the pair bonding thing, right?
All right, here we go.
Because I was actually going to ask you this. And because I have a theory, right? I have a theory. And being as though you're a P-star, right? I think that you kind of take my side on this. I believe the whole women not being able to pair bond because of sexual history. I think that's kind of bullshit. And here's why. Pimps, right? If you look at a pimps, if you want to know what pair bonding is having a woman go have sex with somebody else all day and night, 7 days a week, no breaks, no holidays, and bring you back all of the money. And pimps barely fuck them, and guys think that pimps like beat on their women and drug them up and like have them chained up. No, these women willingly go out, and in most cases, of course, you have some bad apples, but if how are these women able to bond with a man so much that they're willing to sell their body and bring him back the money? And because it's, especially nowadays, it's easy to just take that money, take some classes online, and learn what to do with your fucking money. Right.
But they keep coming back to him because they love him.
Right. So, but if now does sex does stimulate, sex does, make a woman's body produce oxytocin. And I guess the theory is, maybe if, after so many partners, then she'll be immune to it. But okay, let's think about it like this, right? Which is a valid argument. But hugs also produce oxytocin. So you mean to tell me if I hug a certain amount of people, then, I'm gonna lose my ability to bond with a woman, or a woman will, So my thing is, I try to get guys to not relax their standards, but maybe look at the world a little bit different. Women are sexual. Most women are gonna have at least 20 bodies, and I'm being very conservative.
Yeah.
By the time that I'm being very, very conservative.
Very conservative.
If a woman is in the United States, by the time she's 30, she will have at least 20 bodies. And a lot of these guys don't understand, because they're not really out here like that. They don't run through them like that, so they don't see the nature of them. So they have these standards to where, if she have sex with more than 3 guys, and she can't pair bond. If she have more than sex with 4 guys, I don't want her. She won't be able to pair bond. So I basically try to teach them that it's not, it's not really, I think that's men's social conventions to get what we want out of women, which is a woman's purity. It's basically like shaming them into purity, right? So, like I say, if a woman had, because I know some hoes that's been married for a long time, right? And if you let's just say you want to say, well, if after a certain amount of partners, you won't be able to, sex won't be able to, she won't be able to produce oxytocin, or her body can't, stimulate oxytocin because of the sexual partners. Okay, there's literally, 100 other ways to stimulate oxytocin in a person outside of sex. I teach this shit. I have a course that I actually teach this in on how to do this with women, also along with sex. But I don't believe that oxytocin or a woman pair bonding has anything to do with her sexual partners. I just believe that it's due to a man not knowing how to deal with women. So you get a guy who never had any experience with women, and most women have more sexual experience than men, right? So you get a guy who's never had any experience with women, and he get a woman that got 30 bodies on her. He don't know what to fucking do with her, right? Which most women nowadays gonna have that, right? Yep. He don't know what to do with her. So when she tell him, oh, I was a whore in high school, he gets sick to his stomach because he don't understand how things go. And so when they break up 5 years later, or when she cheat on him because he don't know how to satisfy her, or he's not attracted, or he don't know how to maintain an attraction, or his sex is not good, or whatever the reason she cheat on him for, guys associate this with, she was a whore, she can't pair bond. No, you just don't have game. That's what I believe. And I wanted to ask you your opinion on that, because you're a P-star.
I've never heard anyone use the pimp analogy like that before. I think that is a really unique take on this whole argument.
Right.
And you know what? It's kind of funny because first of all, it's about when a woman the pair bonding thing is like a woman falling in love, right?
Right.
And men and women kind of fall in love totally differently, I think. Right. And I think because I think a lot of dudes, especially dudes who haven't had much pussy, or they're a bit needy, a bit simpy, they kind of fall in love quickly and easily with every girl that touches their dick.
Right.
And that's because I think what men think is falling in love for them is really just neediness for a lot of the time. Honest to God. I mean, because I'm saying this as a guy who was kind of there when I was younger. I was kind of that guy when I was a 16-year-old kid or whatever.
Right.
I'm not trying to say this from like shitting on everybody else. But with women, it's like when they fall in love, it's like this man, like it's like an ownership thing. It's like this man owns me. This man owns me. This man is the man who will protect me and take care of me and keep me safe.
Right.
And they fall in love with you when you're not around them. That's the thing that guys sort of forget a lot as well. It's like she falls in love with you with her own the thoughts that are going on in her own head when you're not around. You know?
Right.
And that's why, yeah, I mean, you like going back to this kind of idea of like manipulation or whatever, or like playing games and knowing, but mainly it's knowing how to like get in a woman's head is the key to like pair bonding and the key to like getting a girl to fall for you, I think.
Right.
And you know what? Pulling on my experience as a porn star, right? I've been on set with girls who, like, for want of a better use of words, seemed like dead inside when I'm working with them, and that's kind of what I think every dude imagines when they hear that a girl who has a big lay count can't pair bond is this kind of girl who's just emotionally dead.
Yeah,
she's not giving anything. But then I've worked with girls who've had way more scenes than that girl who are like falling in love on set with you.
Right.
And I'm like, and so I could never really reconcile this idea of like, like if she has a lot of sex, she can't pair bond, because I'm like, well, I'm seeing. I mean, I'm not saying like we, I didn't fall in a relationship with all these different girls, but it's like I can, but all these girls do have partners back home. They've all got like a lot of them have like at least half of the girls in the adult industry have a husband or a long-term boyfriend.
Right.
It's super common.
That's crazy.
And they're with them for a long time. Like it's not really a fleeting flash in the pan thing. They're with them for a while. There's girls who've been in this who are in like 10-year plus marriages.
Right.
Not all of them, but some of them.
That's crazy.
And
that's crazy to me.
There's a lot of examples that disprove that idea.
Right.
And so when I see that, I'm like some of these girls, like they really have the ability to really fall in love. They're just nymphomaniacs and they just really love sex.
Right.
And it's like, but then I think, well, the girls who, I work with, who I can tell are kind of broken on the inside, a bit broken and damaged. I'm trying to figure out like why is that the case for those girls in particular? Like,
right.
What is the difference? And I honestly haven't been able to figure out yet.
I think it's other outside influences. Now, I will say this: women who tend to be easily conquered tend to have more mental issues. And basically, sex is a man conquering a woman. That's what I believe, right? Conquering her mind or conquering her body. So a woman who's easily conquered, or who anybody can conquer, is what they call a slut, right? I believe they tend to have more issues going on, or more traumas from childhood, or more vulnerabilities and things like that, which affect relationships if you don't know how to deal with things like that. But and a lot of the times, like when because I do that, like when I have sex with women I don't like, I shut down emotionally. Like we'll talk about it too. I wanted to ask you about something like that. This shit is good, right? But when I shut myself down emotionally, so I like there's certain things I don't do when I have sex, and a woman would probably get the idea that I didn't enjoy it, or I don't even like her, right? Which is a psychological trick too in itself, but I do that so I don't catch feelings. And a lot of the times what you see with promiscuous women, in order for them not to catch feelings, in order for them not to be all open about a man, or open themselves up to be hurt again, they shut down emotionally, and they just basically have sex. I literally just did a video about yesterday. It's crazy how to spot a promiscuous woman and versus a woman who's irresistible to you as a person, right? And one of the things to look for is women who seem emotionally empty when you have sex with them. What they're doing is shutting themselves down because they don't want to be open to being hurt. They know if they kiss you in the face, or if they start moaning and rubbing all on you and letting you, sucking your dick and all of that shit and enjoying it, they know that they're going to open themselves up to hurt. Whereas before they may have gotten, neglected like that, or opened themselves up to a guy, he may have raped them, or opened themselves up to a guy and he got her heart and crushed it and shit. So they learned to, okay, if I'm gonna have sex, I can't open up emotionally to a guy unless I truly, truly like him. So I mean, that's just what I believe. And because I've had sex with all type of like promiscuous hoes and shit, right? But like I say, I get more into I get more into women. Like I don't just sometimes I smash them and keep it moving, but a lot of the times, like I said, since I was a kid, I wanted to understand women so I could have the upper hand over them. So I would talk and get them to open up to me and shit. And what I've seen is when women seem like they dead inside, they guard it, but they still want to have sex.
So maybe that's the deciding factor. It's the women that are sort of like emotionally dead or whatever, who are a bit more guarded, are just the ones that had their heart broken.
Maybe it could be anything. Like people, you have women who don't care about heartbreak, who's like, I know a girl who she's like, shit, I want to fall in love again. Like, it hurts the whole motions and the butterflies and the process and the hurt, and she loves it. She don't care about jumping out of a plane, not literally, but the love plane. Whereas some women are terrified of hurt. You see the guy, you see this in this space with some, like, I don't care about being in a relationship with a woman. I don't care about being open. I don't care about that. I'm not, right now I'm focused on what I have to do, but I'm not running from that. Whereas you see guys that join the MGTOW shit, they like, fuck a bitch, I'm done. I'm through with all these hoes, right?
Yeah.
We all went through the same things with women. It's just some people are more open to being hurt again, or some people don't let trauma affect them a certain way. And like I said, you may have a chick who slept with a lot of people. She don't care about catching feelings. She don't care about being open or whatever, or she know how to turn it off, or she can differentiate, okay, these are my feelings in the moment. I know this is just sex, so I'll just enjoy it and then leave. Whereas other people may not do that, and their defense mechanism is to just shut down. So it's just,
so maybe it's a case of the girls who are totally cool. And I'm just thinking of it from like perspective of my co-stars, right?
Right.
Maybe the girls that can do this and give their emotions and still pair bond, right? Despite having a ton of partners, maybe they've always been the ones that break the hearts. Maybe they have always been the ones that have ended it and crushed a dude's heart.
Yeah.
Right. So they've never had a dude have that power over them.
Right.
That could be. I'm just theorizing here, right? But that could be this defining kind of factor.
Right. That could be.
And then the girl who's a bit emotionally void. She probably she has her heart broken. She gets into the adult industry, thinking, I'm gonna be like a man. I'm just gonna have as much sex as I can because I enjoy sex. And she starts doing it, and she realizes that she has to be ice cold because her defense mechanism is to be ice cold because she just doesn't want to have her heart broken, or doesn't even entertain the possibility of having her heart broken again.
Right.
Maybe we just figured it out. We might have just figured it out.
Yeah, man. I like fucking. People study like animals and shit. Like I was like that with women. Like I would try to talk to as many of them as I can. Get inside their head, see if I can get them to do this for me. Get them to go steal out the store for me and shit when I was younger. So,
oh my god.
But that was a good question. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, what do you think is like? What do you think? I mean, I said I kind of gave you my idea before, like where I think women fall in love with you when you're not around them, right? And it's the thoughts that go on in their own head when you're not around that allow them that cause them to fall in love with you. What do you think is some of the things that really, really make a woman fall in love with a guy?
Yeah, that's the space. That's where the magic happens. The space. You do the implementations, and if you develop the feelings while you're together. So, let's say your girl may be vulnerable, and she's she wants some comfort, and then you make her feel safe with your masculine energy, and she's just like, oh, butterflies and shit. It doesn't really have an effect until she has space and she can process the emotions and stew in them and think about like, and then anticipate you. So
and miss you. She has to miss you.
Right. And miss you. See, a lot of guys, they don't give their women space. So they may be doing all of the right things, but they don't give her that necessary space so she can, again, process the emotions. You can't think of it like a basketball game. Like you can't really learn from the game until after you watch the footage, or sit back and reflect on the good things, the dunks and the cheers and shit. But while you in the game, you damn near like blah. You may be feeling things, but it's like, yeah, whatever. So what a lot of guys don't realize is they like to smother. They smother because they believe.
Yep.
I literally had a guy write me yesterday and was like, well, because I was talking about space, and I was like, well, he was like, well, what if she talks to another guy during, when you're giving her space to do what you do and shit? And I'm like, you don't think about it like that. This is necessary for them to, like I say, process the emotions, think about it, let it stew, and then now you have, okay, I feel good and jiggity inside. Okay, but when I'm going to see him, now here's anxiety. Here's I miss him and shit like this. So you have a love cocktail, right? So you have all of these emotions brewing, and then when they see you again, wow, there's a dopamine explosion. There's fucking oxytocin and serotonin and all of this shit, and it all possible because there was space for shit to brew. If there's no space, I always say that's where the magic happens. That's where, like you say, that's where the love, that's where they fall in love is the space. I believe in that wholeheartedly.
You know what's funny? I just spent some time hanging out with some of my buddies in Romania. And one of the key things that they do is that they don't live with any of their women.
Why not?
They're two brothers, and they've always lived together, right? If anyone watching, it's the Andrew Tate and Tristan Tate. That's who I'm talking about. And they've always lived with each other, with the two brothers, and they specifically don't live with their main chicks. They get them other houses. They make the girl live in a different house. Like she'll come over and she'll spend time, and then he'll kick her out. Like, but it's one, to protect his energy, like to guard his time and his energy, right? So he doesn't get like that sort of being around other dudes. And I kind of felt when I was hanging out with him, I kind of felt this idea like of being around other dudes all the time. You just like you're on fucking like you're just like your testosterone is like double, man. Yeah, it's like they do the same thing. They create that space so that a woman because a woman can't fall like if you're around her all the time. Because here's another thing, another idea that I think a girl introduced this idea to me too, is that like a woman falls in love with not with you, but she falls in love with like who she creates you to be in her head.
Right. Like
she creates this kind of character of you. She creates this like ideal image of you based upon the experience that she has with you, right? And even in social media is another example of this. So let's take an example. I know because these days a lot of dudes are out there on Instagram like flexing, trying to use like the Instagram flexing game to like get chicks and stuff. And it's like Instagram is like a highlight reel of somebody's life. It's not like their everyday life, for the most part, for most people, can't possibly be as cool as the highlight reel they put together, which is their Instagram, right?
Right.
But a woman will still look at that. She might logically know, his whole life isn't like this, but emotionally, she's looking at that and being like, this is who this guy is, right?
Right.
And oddly enough, like the more time you spend around her, it hurts you more because she has more of experience of you being a regular guy.
Right, right.
So like if you're around her less, then her own imagination is your best friend.
Right.
She can create you to be this like, even though you might not actually be busy, you might not be working, like, but you tell her like you're not seeing her because you're deliberately just spacing out the time between visits, telling her, "Oh, I'm busy working, honey. I'm busy doing this." Right. So in her mind, she's like, "Oh, he's this jet-setting entrepreneurial guy," or is he hanging around with other women?
Right.
Even if you aren't, she might think she thinks that, and it does you a favor because it makes her jealous. She's making herself jealous, but it's just her being retarded. With her own damn thoughts,
Right.
All this like helps you.
Yeah. Space is very important, man. It's you need space, fellas. You need space. If space is where the magic happens. If without space, you have nothing. So.
And kind of tying in like laying pipe into this properly as well, right? I think another thing you with the whole, because I'm still fascinated by this idea you brought up of like the pimp and his hose dynamic. Right. I'm kind of still there in my head. Because like I said, it's the first time someone's kind of made me think like that. Like the Johns that the hoes are having sex with, they're not laying pipe properly like the pimp is. Like even though he's not having sex with them that much, but when he is, it's fucking important. He's doing it properly.
Right, and this is the key, and I know, because I'm gonna get ready to ask you some shit in a minute, but I know this is one of your things, right? I just know it. This is the thing. He's up here with it, so even if he isn't like the biggest king dingaling, he has her here, and if you have her here, you, in my opinion at least, that's half the battle.
Yeah.
As far as the sex go, right? The more in a pimp's their mentality is this, right? And I'm not a pimp, by the way, but I just, like, when I was younger, I studied them and I got lessons from them when I was younger, like a teenager. Like, I read pimp books. I wanted to be a fucking pimp, right? You know, even growing up, I talked to them and stuff like that, just getting a lot of game from them, right? Their thing is they always want their women to view them as almost like God, like, and you know, they abstain from sex a lot. They do it as a reward, but their thing is, you know, a lot of the times they want to ejaculate with them, you know, if they do, because if the woman sees like, okay, I can make God weak, I can make, you know, I can make God like ejaculate and have him in this weak state, you kind of lessen the effect. This is what they told me, right? Wow. So they get them in the mind and they can satisfy them mentally, you know, mentally with just like halfway sex. You see what I'm saying? It's that shit is crazy, man. It's a fascinating dynamic. To me, it's always was, and not necessarily, you know, the whole women selling her body thing, but just how dedicated these women were. Like that, I saw one when I was younger. I saw this one guy, and like he had like 8 hoes, right? And when they would go somewhere in public, like all of them had their head down, like, you know, like he would make all of them like walk in public with their head down, and that was to signify like, you never look another man in the face, you never look at it, you shouldn't be able to tell me what another man looked like. So he got this stable of 8 hoes in a party, and they all looking down. Stuff like that was like fascinating to me. So I always wanted to learn shit like how do you get a woman? How do you get a woman to serve you in that way? Not necessarily how do you get a woman to make her sell her body, no shit like that, but just like, you know, how do you do that? Like to where, you know, you can walk in a party and you say, look, don't look at none of these motherfuckers. You better not be able to tell me nothing but what type of shoes a motherfucker got on.
Yeah.
Right. And then, you know, you go somewhere, just the esteem and the respect you get from other people. It's like, oh, Sterling Cole, he got his hoes. They ain't even looking up. Yeah, they sitting over there with their head down. It was always fascinating to me, man.
Well, because that, I mean, you get, like you said, a guy doesn't have to get to that point where he's like he's able to put his girl on a street corner, but just the average guy, if he just took like a tenth of what that dude can do, he would have a happy relationship,
right?
With just a tenth of that, you know, and that's. I agree. It's fascinating. It's fascinating stuff and understanding like how it works. And here's the other thing that most guys kind of gloss over. You look at pimps. They're nothing special. Like as in, he's not some supreme physical specimen. No. He's not. Maybe he's probably more intelligent than the average guy, sure, but he's not like he's not necessarily like some Mensa chess genius or something, right?
Yeah, a lot of them not in shape.
They're not in shape. Yeah. He without the women, he doesn't really have a bunch of money.
Right.
So it's not. It's all these things that guys sort of get insecure about, and he probably doesn't have like the world's biggest schlong either. Like all these things that dudes get insecure about and think, they attribute to, that's why he has women, or that's why
that is a great fucking point. That is a great fucking point, because most of them that I've seen, they skinny, scrawny, or super fat. I've seen like fat, like 350 pound, like disgusting motherfuckers, and like. How do you get, you know, and a lot of these guys, they start broke. Like, so how do you get these 2 or 3 women when you dead fucking broke to go sell their bodies? Like, it's not about the money. It's not about the muscles. Or, you know, that's important to be attractive, right? To, you know, in a regular world. But at the end of the day, is here. That's the most important thing, is getting inside of here.
Mm-hmm. And I agree. Like, so make money, get in the gym, do all this stuff. But primarily do it for you. You know, it's not like you're doing it so you'll live longer, so you'll be healthier, you'll be happy, you'll be happier. Your body, like, you know, your brain's happier when your body's healthy. Like, you do all these things for yourself, and it's just it's a nice little cherry on top to like kind of, you know, like a little bit of a flicker of a flame to attract more moths.
Right.
But it's not the thing that. But that ain't gonna keep a girl like on lock. I mean, you look at all these guys like Bezos, and who was it recently? Was it that
Dr.
got
Dre.
divorced? Dr. Dre. Yeah, recently Dr. Dre paying like 300 grand a month.
Right,
like,
that's crazy.
He ain't he's not pimping her, right, because that wouldn't happen,
right?
If he was.
It's the mind. It's money. Your money ain't gonna keep them. Your money can attract them. The muscles and shit can attract them.
Yeah.
The cars, it get them looking, but in order to keep them and sustain them, you have to get them here. Like this here is what matters. Once you get this, you have everything. It's getting this and sustaining this over a long term, and that's where most guys struggle. Hey, you mind if I ask you some shit now?
You go right ahead. You go right ahead, my man.
All right, so what I want to know is because I actually, when I was younger, I actually gave it a thought. Like I considered for a few months, like I should fucking do this, and I had this plan to fly out to California and everything. Like what inspired you to want to do that? Was it like what was it that inspired you to want to get into the porn industry and do your thing in it?
Well, when I was a 16-year-old kid, I was like had these like daydreams of being a porn star. So I'm not gonna lie. I'm from like a tiny like 3,000 person town in buttfuck nowhere, Western Australia.
Oh shit!
So I didn't grow up in like a big city with lots of pretty girls around. It was like the same 20 women that I've known my entire life.
Oh shit! Yeah,
the only women in the town. It's like that, and it's so this idea of like having just a bit of it, not only having like endless vagina, but being paid to have endless vagina was kind of like this sort of teenage fantasy. But I ended up, the way I got into it was I ended up in the swinging scene when I was a younger man, like in my mid-20s. I somehow finagled my way into the swinging scene as a single guy, not with a couple, but as a single guy. And I got invited as like the +1 to parties with a few other girls. And so I started to mingle in that scene. And then a lot of the girls in the swinging scene where I was from were also escorts. And over the course of like a year or two, I had a bunch of them tell me, hey, you should try escorting. You'd be very good at it. And I thought, oh, why not? It's legal in Australia where I'm from. So I put up some adverts, took some photos, and I started getting booked, by businesswomen and stuff. I was like, oh, that's not too bad. I take a girl take a girl to a fancy 5-star restaurant. She pays for it, and then I take her back to her hotel room and dick her down right, and she keeps booking me again and again. I'm like, all right, there's something to this. And then in that scene, in the escorting world in Australia, at least, basically all the girls who escort also do porn because it advertises them. Right, and they were like, you should try doing porn as well. I'm like, oh, let's do porn as well. And then bang, I did my first scene. It went really well. I was like, all right, I can do this. And then I managed to network my way from like Australia to England, shot in England, shot for like Brazzers and a few companies out there. Then I got flown out to Europe and I shot in Europe for a while for like the great Rocco Siffredi, worked for him for a while. And then I made my way to California, like your plan was. Right. Made my way to California, and that's the right place to do it. So you had a good plan. And the rest is history, basically.
Now, so I know the chicks are telling you, oh, Mr. Dingling, you need to fucking be an escort. Did you always naturally have like a good sex game, or like what was it? Was there like an experience where you said in your mind, okay, I want to knock these hoes down. I want to really get my sex game up to point. Like, what was that moment coming to you, or were you just natural with it?
You know what it was? It was I was not good with girls when I was. I'm going to be perfectly honest. I was terrible with women when I was a young man, and I got a girlfriend when I was like 15, and I was with her for like 3 years, and I was just upset. I was super a very very horny young man, and I was just like. And I had this thing in me where I was like a pleaser. Like I got off on seeing her get off. That's kind of like that's kind of where I came from. Right. And so which ended up working in my favor because I learned the female body, I learned all this stuff. And then when she eventually broke my heart and broke up with me, I still wasn't very good with chicks, but I had that like enthusiasm of sex. And so the few women that I was sleeping with in my teens and early 20s, I was just like a fucking wild animal. Like I'm gonna have as like my thought was like, okay, I have like one trick in my bag to keep her around, and that is being good in bed. And so I better be good in bed. So that was kind of how I came about. It came about from insecurity. It came about from not being able to get more women. You know?
Okay, so like that's good that you said that, right? Because I teach guys that just being good in bed ain't gonna keep no woman. You still got to do here. So even in your, you being able to knock them hoes out of the park, right? Did that still like fuck your like if you did they stay around longer because you were able to please them sexually, or was it still like
it did. Oh, it absolutely. Like I built relationships off the back of purely laying pipe, and I know this because even through my mid-20s, I was still like simping. I was still like looking back now with my old man knowledge, right?
Right.
I'm able to see all the fuck ups I was making, and
you just taught me something because you couldn't pay me to believe like a person couldn't. Yesterday, you couldn't have paid me to believe that sex would keep a woman around, and you were making all these mistakes. I wouldn't believe that, but I believe in that.
I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I have like the world's biggest penis or anything like that. I don't. Like it's bigger than average, but it's not a friggin' Mandingo baby club seal killing thing. So it wasn't that. It wasn't that. It's purely like my enthusiasm in the bedroom and like I said before, like I get off on getting girls off. So that was like the thing. And honest to God, that was what I built relationships on for like several years. I knew I was learning bits and pieces of like female psychology and learning. I was obviously curious about it because I was bad at it. So I was curious about it. I was getting better and better and better. But I wasn't anywhere near like I am like now. I know how to fuck with a girl's brain, right? And what the big thing for me, the big sort of like change for me was learning how to fuck with a girl's brain in the bedroom. That was the secret sauce for me, which fucking put the nail in the coffin. Was like and again, I was doing it by accident a lot when I was in my early 20s. Like I'd do this shit without even realizing what I was doing. I wasn't even fully aware of what I was doing. But just something as simple as like telling a girl, like this pussy belongs to me during sex, like while you're fucking a girl, like whispering some dirty shit in her ear, saying like this pussy belongs to me, as just a throwaway comment in my 20s, was actually the thing that like locked the girl's brain in and made her like obsessed with me for the next 6 months to 12 months. Right. And I didn't even realize it. But now I'm like, oh shit. This is something I should be doing with every fucking girl. Right. And it's little things like that. Like when a girl is like has your penis in her, she is at her most vulnerable with you. Right. She's conquered. She's conquered. Yeah. And that is a very good opportunity for you. Like and this is another thing I've always been doing I've done this my whole life. I've always done this little game, what I call the just the tip game. And so it's nothing to do with butt stuff. Nothing to do with butt stuff. But the just the tip game is where like I would always tease her like labia and clitoris with the head of my dick, make her like literally like tell her beg for it, like make her beg for me to put it in, right? I used to do shit like that too. Right. See, that's why I like talking to guys. Like I've seen all these like things that worked for everybody. I'm like, aha. So I would do that. I'd make her beg for me to put it in the first place, and then when she begged enough, I made her do it, like say it 2 or 3 times, like, and I'd make her say it louder again. Like she'd be like, "Please put it in louder," and make her do it louder the second time. But when I did put it in, I would tell her, "You only get the tip," and so I'd just put the head of my dick in her, and then she's like, "Oh," like obsessed and like like kind of annoyed, but like turned on at the same time. And then eventually, and I teach guys to do this, and I guarantee you, any guy watching this, if you do this thing, you do this game, right? You play the just the tip game, and you only put the head of your dick in, and you tell her that's all you get for now. She will, in missionary position, she's going to wrap her legs around the back of your hips and pull you into her. It is what she will do. They all do this. Women do not. Dudes are like, yeah, sure, guys are horny and they're thirsty and stuff. But I'll tell you this thing right now: no woman has more willpower than me when she's getting dicked down. Like women like people don't think dudes have willpower around sex. A woman, when she has a penis in her, has zero willpower.
Yeah,
like she will cave in a fucking second.
They'll do anything if especially if she likes you. And she, you have her mind and shit. When she's in that state, she'll do anything. You could literally say, "Hey, baby, look, I cased this bank." She'll fucking do it.
I've never tried that.
Me either. And I don't suggest you guys try it either, because that's bullshit. But I'm just saying that the level of the lengths that a woman, and I've done stuff like, not the bank shit, not the illegal shit, but I've done things like this. And it's crazy that you the game that you mentioned, like how it's like a game for you to get them off. And guys, don't say, "Hey, bitch, let's play a game." Do you suggest it? Okay. Because these guys will literally say, "Hey, let's play a game."
No, I call it a game because it's a game for me. But I just do it during the act of sex, right?
Yeah, these guys will literally "Hey man, I told her that let's play a game and she kicked me out." you fucking get an email. But
there's so much going on there. Right. With that one example, that one little thing. Think about all the psychology that's going on in that, right? She's like, you're making her beg for your penis, right? So in terms of a power dynamic, who's on top of that power dynamic? I am. Right. And I wasn't conscious of this shit. I am conscious of it now. I'm very much aware of what I'm doing now, but I wasn't when I was doing it before, when I'm in my 20s. And so, first of all, I'm making her beg for my dick. And then two, when I do put it in, second of all, I'm making her say it again multiple times. So she's getting used to obeying my commands, right? I'm making her obey my instruction. So that's another thing. And thirdly, when I do put it in, I'm not giving her what she wants.
Right.
It's like a slot machine. It's like an emotional slot machine. Like, she's pulled the lever. She thinks she's going to get a jackpot. Ding, 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 ding. Nah, it's just a couple of cherries. It's like, son of a bitch, it's like, and it makes you more addictive.
Right.
So this is one little thing. If guys just did that, like if more men did that one thing, I mean, if everybody did it, then it wouldn't really work.
Yeah.
But if the guys who are watching this channel do that one thing, that is going to make a massive difference in their relationship. The girl, like, it's the dynamic of the relationship is better because of that. She's going to come back for you again. The sex is going to be more fun for her and more enjoyable for you too. Like, because it's more fun for you. It's like when a girl really wants you, it's awesome.
It's a huge source of confidence. And it's funny that you mentioned that game and that you mentioned the power thing. It's crazy how we do things and we do them for different reasons. Like my thing, I'm not a pleaser. I'm not a chick pleaser. Like I always had this mentality, bitch, I don't care if you come or not. Like that was my thing. Now, I did have, I have chicks that I like, and I want to make sure they have a good time. But when you get into, like, you're going through your whole phase, or you get into, I'm just knocking shit down, or to just get my body count up, or just conquering, I'm in the conquering mode. I really don't care if a chick coming out, right? But so I'm not really a pleaser. But when I do things, it was more so for power. Like it's interesting that you say you would do the just the tip game for like more of like pleasure. For me, it was always for power. Like, no, bitch, you gotta beg me, and I know that puts them in a certain state. And I believe whoever dominates in the bedroom gonna dominate outside of the bedroom too. So if you can dominate her inside of the bedroom, and have her submissive, and jump into your tune and dance to your beat. If you halfway decent outside of the bedroom, you'll have her up here. Even if you halfway decent. So yeah, that for me, it was a power thing. Like I do things even like now, because I learned a long time ago that women take pleasure like in pleasing. Like it's almost like their nature. I was young, right? I was young, and this girl was giving me head, and I used to like do this little trick. It's not like a trick, but I used to do this thing where when I get head, when I get oral from a chick, I would make her get on her knees, and I would stand up and make her look up to me and like kind of grab her neck a little bit. It's like little subtle things like that I would do. But when I did this to one chick, like when she got done, she was like soaking wet. And I realized then that, just listening to, I do anything to please you, what you want. So I started to realize that women actually take pride, and it's pleasurable for them to please you. Is if you like a quote unquote like alpha man. I don't like using that term, but if you like that type of person to them, they take pride in that. Like it's like that's what they here to do. Like it's damn near like that's their that's damn near like it's their purpose. You understand what I'm saying?
I can go on a quick rant about that if you like.
Go ahead.
I 100%. So it's okay. Like, so getting a girl getting the man she loves off is, or any man really in general, is like the ego stroke that they get out of sex, right? Because they're sexual objects. As much as, you know, we say like there's a phrase in, like, I think Rich Cooper, my friend Rich Cooper, uses the phrase like men are success objects, women are sex objects. Right. Or maybe it's Roller Tomasi. I forget who coined that phrase, but that's true. You know, as much as society says, "Oh, don't objectify women. Women are, you know, blah blah." Well, look, like, they like to be sexually objectified. Why the hell do they post their ass on Instagram all day? Like, don't be a dumbass. Okay, so first of all, so they even view themselves as sex objects, right? And it's ego gratifying for her to know that she is sexy enough and pleasure and enjoy and you know, attractive enough in the bedroom to get her man off. Right. So, and this is why, by the way, it fucks with them when you don't come in the bedroom, like you said before, like you mentioned before with the whole pimp thing. Right. And one more thing to drill home this idea. So sometimes I get porn stars, female porn stars in the studio with me, and we do like an interview with them. And something I've been asking them lately has been, because this is kind of one of my things I teach guys to do in the bedroom is to make more noise. I tell guys, because a lot of guys are like creepily fucking silent when it comes to you know, sex. They don't make any. No, I'm not even talking about like dirty talk, but they just don't make any fucking moans or groans or anything. They're just like a robot. And when I say this to women, they all agree with me, and they all say, I ask them, like, how do you feel as a woman when the guy you're having sex with isn't making any noise? And you know what they say? They tell me? What? They say, I don't know. It makes me feel self-conscious. I don't know if I'm pleasing him or not. He's literally got his erect penis in her, and she still is self-conscious about whether or not she's attractive to him. But just because he's not making any noise. That should tell you everything you need to know about how important, like, being sexually satisfying is to a woman. Right. You know?
Right. It's important, man. But yeah, I just always knew that. Like, since I was young, I knew that like women would love to please. And a lot of guys didn't understand that. Like, a lot of guys would, you know, they would be the ones buying women shit but like, once I saw, because my first girlfriend like spoiled the fuck out of me. And it initially wasn't a power thing. It was just like, okay, she set the standard. Like in sixth grade, like my first real girlfriend, she would like shower me, but she was like an Indian girl. She would like shower me with like all type of shit. And I was like, well, this is how it's supposed to be. So I expected this, but I grew to learn that, you know, women enjoyed this. So while my friends, they maybe can fuck hoes and shit, but they was doing things for women. They was taking women to the movies, and they was doing all of this shit and buying them and their friends food. But girls was doing this shit for me. They was bringing me food, and I would be like, hey, you want to come see me? You know, you're 18 years old, you got 4 roommates. Hey, bring all of us some Taco Bells when you come. And they would be doing little things like this, getting themselves invested. And guys would be like, why the fuck is she so crazy about you? It's because I figured out a long time ago that women, they get more pleasure in pleasing a man that they like versus the other way around. So I know, like, I carry that into the bedroom. And as I got older, though, I'm starting to get out of the whole selfish, because I was the selfish guy.
You're getting less selfish, and I'm getting more selfish.
Like, I was like, you know, because I feel like I kind of like I missed out on some like good experiences, like as far as like sexually. Like, I had sex with a lot of women, but just like, you know, I was looking at a meme the other day that I sent to this girl that, you know, and I was like, damn, I wish I could have this. Like, this the type of stuff that I be wanting. And I told like, this the type of stuff I be wanting. And it was just a basic, the girl was on top of him, like grinding on him and all kissing and shit. Like, that was never me. Like, I didn't want to do shit like that. Because I know women like stuff like that, and I know like women like being on top of you in a dominant position so they can get you off and they can put their skills on you. But I always like made sure that I protected myself from that, especially from random girls. So I would never let chicks ride me, or a lot of chicks, like, I would never let, because I believe that's how you catch feelings, like as a man.
Wow. That is really interesting.
Like sucking titties and shit. Like, you gotta remember, like, our bodies produce oxytocin too, so we catching feelings too. But you know what happens when you fucking? Your testosterone, when you pounding that ass and you dominant, your testosterone levels rise, and testosterone kind of hinders oxytocin production, which is why the guy who's like the alpha male can just hit it and leave, and the bitch caught feelings and shit. So I would always do everything that I could to protect myself from catching feelings from women. So it's little certain things that I wouldn't do. So I kind of shut myself off from, a lot of shit, like, like intimate shit, or if I did anything, it was more so for power. Right, it was a power thing, but women get off on the power shit too.
That is fascinating. So okay, so let me. I'll give you my perspective now on what I do these days with cowgirl and stuff. When she's on top, like when she's riding in cowgirl, I'm still the one in charge when I do it. And here's the two kind of, like, three kind of ways that I do it. One, I'm either like pinning her hands like behind her back, right? So there's I've got control either that way, or two, I'm like pulling her hair and choking her while she's grinding up on me, and I'm the one actually controlling the rhythm. I'm the one like she's just there, and I'm like thrusting into her, So it's like I'm controlling the fucking, like, because I know what I'm doing. Like, I've had much more sex than these women have, so like I know what to do to get her off, and I know what to do to get me off. She ain't got a clue. So, I'm going to take control of the damn thing. Right. And then the third thing I'll do is I'll control her rhythm, or the third thing I can do is I'll just control the rhythm with a, like, grab onto her hips and control the rhythm that way. Gotcha. So it's like, it's never a case, it's very, very rarely a case of like, I will just lay down and let her have her way with it, because for the most part, they don't know how to get me off properly. It's basically, it's from that, it's less about like, it was less about me thinking it's a dominance thing, and it's more about like, I want to have fun here, so I'm going to do what I enjoy.
Maybe that was my own insecurity or ego or whatever, but I just always felt like that I should be in control, and I should never let certain women in my area like that. And when I say area, meaning my bubble, like I should never allow women certain access to me. Like, I always believe that, women should earn every inch of you, and certain things like that. When you just conquering, you gotta, for me, I feel like I have to guard certain parts of me, because I done fell in love with hoes before. It's not a good thing. Yeah. Right. So over the years, I've learned to, protect myself, because sex is very powerful. For men and women.
That is, I just find this is why I'm so glad we did this, Joe, because this is like, we're coming at this from two different perspectives.
Right.
But we're coming to like the same conclusions.
Right.
For two totally different reasons.
It's crazy, man. It's just powerful for me. So like I said, I've always been this guy to where I was like, not a like I know what I'm doing. I know how to last. I know how to, hit spots. I know how to hit the bottom, and I know how to G spots. I know clit. I can do all of that. I've seen several women orgasm, but my thing was more so like, you need to be getting me off. That's your job. I'm the, I'm king shit. So your job is to get me off, not the other way around. And sometimes I still like that today, but like I say, like sometimes I feel like, damn, I kind of miss, like with some beautiful, sexy women, like I missed out on like exploring them more and shit. And I seen a meme today, and I was like, damn. And I thought to myself, like, damn, this is the type of shit that I be needing. Yeah, this is King Dre saying, so, I want some romantic intimacy sometimes as well, right? Because I know my followers gonna be like, oh, you simping out and shit. But nah, because they know how I am. But nah, I saw it and I was like, damn. So I sent it to the chick. I'm like, yeah, I be needing this type of shit right here. Like, You know, I like, and it's just regular shit. I'll send it to you. It's just like regular shit, but I don't experience stuff like that because of my mentality.
Where can everybody find your stuff? They can find like a YouTube, your Instagram, your website, everything.
My YouTube is just type in King Dre and I should come up. King Dre, King space Dre. And then Instagram, you can follow me on Instagram at King Dreism, KingDreism, or you can go on my website. Everything is there, King Dreism.